name is Georgij Melnikov. I'm an artist based in Vienna, and I had an art residency in Hangzhou, China. The result of which is the show Walk There, or Voyager, and I would like to tell you a little bit more about the show. I was exploring different forms of shells in my previous artworks. There were, for example, seashells, eggshells, and for this specific show I chose the snail shell. I have some kind of an art philosophy. I imagine it like there's two elements to that. One is the shell, and the other element is called, I call it black water. It is like the sum of all written, drawn things. If you would imagine them to be written or drawn with ink, and then you would put all the information that is available in the world on top of each other, until you get a completely black, like liquid. In that, there is the sum of all meaning of all information of the world. And then I thought, how could you extract again the information you want to create or show? And for that reason, you would need the shell. And then again, I think it's interesting, after putting those things together, after following this process of creation, again separating them and looking what meaning can be in the one without the other. So the shell, what can be the meaning of a shell in all kinds of perspectives. And with that I try to focus then these possible meanings on social, maybe environmental, maybe historical or cultural topics. And with all of that, create again new stories, new meanings. Yeah, first of all, when I created this image of this concrete snail, basically it's not a real snail, it's a human being crawling inside of a shell backwards. And I imagined, since they're human, they cannot fit inside, so they halfway inside they begin to push this shell forward, which is already kind of a tense situation. And by doing so, they create friction. So if normal snails would leave a, I don't know, slimy biomass natural path behind, those are not normal snails, so their path has to be very different. And very early on I decided that the path has to be burned in me, so I thought. I tried various other burning devices, and at one point I figured that actually the very simple sparkler candles, fireworks that you can use inside of your house, that are actually a thing that children love, and also I as a child was totally fascinated by them, are the perfect tool to create these paths, as well as to control exactly how the fire comes onto the wood. So or leaving them on the wood or moving them slowly, you could very, very precisely work with it. While I'm working on the works, it inspired me also to think about that. What does it mean? Because if you look at the sparkler candles, it also reminds you of, the movies when the dynamite fuse is burning down. So it's like the countdown to an explosion. And I think both of these images, childhood memories of something very innocent and beautiful, and then at the same time, also thoughts about the violence and destruction. And I have the feeling that we're living in a time where these topics, especially the one, unfortunately, of violence and destruction, very much became imminent on a variety of places on the earth, but not only on specific regions, but as well inside humanity. Like, there is a lot of anger, there is a lot of hatred and psychological violence, which tends to change to physical. And so when I made the sculpture, it's also part of the show, where you can see a big a big version of this snail person standing inside of a cooking wok, and it's filled with concrete. And inside of it, I put actually the sparklers, the burnt-out sparkler candles I used in the production of all the works. And at the same time, I really wanted to make a work specifically about these violent tendencies, this feeling of this dynamite fuse is being accelerated actually. And this is how I came to the idea to make this performance, which consisted of me walking with a sort of mask that is where my view, actually a welding mask where the view part is blocked by concrete, so I'm kind of blind. I would have audio recorded on a megaphone that would say, the beginning has a reason, the end makes no sense. Like screaming it, like in a demonstration or agitation. And on one hand I would hold a candle, and the idea was to go towards this wok, and there were certain candles unburned inside, and then to burn them without looking, so without seeing actually. And then I wanted to symbolize how blindly also not only common people, but also people in decision makers are lighting up that dynamite fuse, are lighting up the aggression in the people, and I think this is very it's not only not good, it's naive actually. And then in thinking that, again, we are coming back to this connection with childhood, because as a child you're also naive. You burn the fireworks because it's fun. It's fun to see them burn. And I think violence also maybe has this element of naivety where it's like you go back to a childish vision of how when you strike the evil monster and then the kingdom will be happy, But this is not the reality of violence, this is not the reality of war, and usually, in my opinion, that's why I was saying the beginning has a reason, but the end makes no sense, because at the end, the achievements that are tried to be, the things that we are trying to achieve by doing violence, usually at the end make no sense if you think about the reasons for why we started it. For example, make war for peace. It doesn't make sense at the end. But yeah. So this piece is called Born in a Country That Doesn't Exist. As you can see, there are several numbers visible on it. It says like 1988. 1988 is actually the year when I was born. I was originally born in Russia, and to be precise, in the Soviet Union. That was the last year of the Soviet Union. So my birth certificate states a country that is not existing actually anymore. So the 2 8s that you can see are considered to be a very lucky number, also considering your business people means good money and wealth and luck. But then, as you can see, the snails or the puffs are coming out from 4 eggs, and 4 is a very unlucky number, or some say the number of death. Also, the 8 symbolizes eternity, so there kind of is in that eternity of life and death, and repetition of that. And then I'm thinking the combination of all those numbers, the combination of the numbers in the title of my history, create a quite interesting overall story for that work. And then there's 2 colors. One is yellow and one is neon green. And the neon green for me is a symbol of actually the green screen. So it's a surface of projection. And also I imagine the concrete to be a certain other kind of green screen, which is maybe not accessible for us human viewers, but which is maybe accessible for these snail figures. No, I had this very interesting experience. The first day I was in Shanghai, this storefront, normal storefront, but what was very strange to me that it was obviously that the store is closed permanently. But what was strange for me, I'm used if stores are closed that they are being just nailed with wood boards so that nobody breaks the window or something. But here they were, for some reason, completely covered in concrete. But yeah, but still this was a very interesting inspiration for me, and I wanted to make one work resembling somehow the street, but even more extreme, where the imagination, all of the street is, every window, every door is basically filled with concrete. These works, I consider the concrete in them as a old projection surface. So in my imagination, if this snail people come towards this concrete, for them it's not a blocked entrance, it's actually open because it's their element, so they dive into it and dissolve in it. I had a conversation, actually I had several conversations where people would look at this snail people and they would see dead people or ghosts or something. So something from the world that starts after death. I wasn't necessarily thinking that they are dead. I was actually imagining how they just move and being from that material and being from that world. I was born in the Soviet Union, but spent there a very brief amount of time. But I guess in a certain subconscious way, I felt the whole energy of this, at one hand, very hopeful time, but at the same time, very tragic time. So I mean, the collapse and the very hasty new orientation brought with it very, very terrible time for the population of the countries that were in the former Soviet Union. For some it was more, for some it was less. I guess in that perspective, for the Russian Federation it was maybe worse because they focused so much on upholding this system, then that it's much more traumatizing when you leave a thing that you dedicated, not only your life, but the life of your previous generations and the life, maybe half-life of your children is dedicated to a cause that then just disappears. Walk there, work there, walk there, walk here, work here, and walk here. I chose this encryption method. I like about this method also that it actually works with shells. Basically they work like shells and they separate the words inside of one word. But also visually they recreate a certain confusing, almost unknown language even for my eye. And the walk is maybe the Dadaistic element, but also reflecting my stay here. I had a lot of food here that was actually very delicious, and hot pots and woks are essential part of that cuisine. So that would be a little bit Dada and a little bit, also the food on the table, so you have to walk, to move, to develop, you have to work, and you have to eat, kind of thing. Of course, I don't think that life is only about, work and eat, and maybe walk sometimes, that would be a bit triste, but that are essential parts of life, and also that are very, very important parts about identification in our time, which again, identification means, again, a certain shell. You're in or you're out of that shell, are you here or are you there? Do you want to go walk here? Do you want to walk there? This, I think, was also a reason why I focused the title and the exhibition topic on this matters, because I think they are in a lot of reasons very important in our time and should be looked at